So this is going to be a review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, spoiler free. Now, other than Spider-Man maybe, Guardians has become the MCU's most beloved individual property, to where no one has anything really bad to say about it when it comes to the characters or the films themselves. There was always going to be natural interest in an eventual Volume 3, it had been 6 years since Volume 2 had come out, but there was added attention directed at this film for a couple of reasons, I feel. For one, the MCU has experienced a few year stretch where it has been very hit or miss, and right now they really needed a hit, critically and financially. The second is the way that this film has been talked about, from the James Gunn, the actors, to the marketing themselves. It's been talked about as it's going to be the final ride with the Guardians, and the marketing and all the comments from everyone certainly seems to reflect that. In Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the Guardians are thrust into adventure to save a friend that will test their family bond. That's as vague as I can be with the description for this film. The trailers didn't exactly go into depth with the story, and to be honest, trying to say this film's story out loud would be futile exercise, as it is an extremely non-linear ABC type story. Volume 2 had this type of non-linear story type also, and so did James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, had this element also, where the story is just a little kind of all over the place. As the film goes on, especially towards the middle, it starts to get more and more schizophrenic, to where I had to ask myself in the middle, what is this movie really about? I think the main thing I disliked about the general plot here was the main villain. He's the leader of a group called the High Evolutionary. And this villain just annoyed me, and I did not like him, and not in the way that I should for a villain. Just his element and the whole story that surrounded him, I didn't really like too much. The best storytelling in this film definitely has to do with Rocket's backstory. The trailers showcased a little tease of this, but it's definitely the most heart-pulling segments of the movie. Rocket is definitely the true heart of this film. A lot of the film does center around him, and it was nice to see an added level of depth to this character, as there is definitely a whole lot of focus on him here. Something that I wish had gotten more focus was the new dynamic between Star-Lord and Gamora. The events of Infinity War and Endgame killed off the Gamora that Quill knew and brought in a Gamora pre-Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. For one, I was very interested in what the hell that, 2014 Gamora was doing right after Endgame, after she just disappeared. And then two, just this new dynamic of the Guardians dealing with a Gamora that was from a very different timeline just didn't get really enough attention as it should have. This was a very weird dynamic that I was looking forward to seeing how it would play out, how it would really sort of address Quill's feelings to losing Gamora from Infinity War, and we just really didn't get a whole lot of that in this film. I still liked Quill and Gamora in the film, but I think Gamora's sort of story and what she was doing definitely needed some more attention. The rest of the characters like Drax, Nebula, Mantis, and Groot all delivered on what you would expect from these characters, and all definitely have their moments where you've seen how they've grown since their first appearances. Besides the villain, the other notable new character here is Adam Warlock. He was teased during the credits of Volume 2. He makes a great first impression with his opening scene, but after that, there's not much more from him besides some decent humor here and there. Gunn's writing style is still what gives the movie that special Guardians flavor that only he can do, with the humor, the unorthodox level of weirdness when it comes to certain set pieces. I mean, there has some weird stuff and visuals in this film. And of course, the music choice. Great use of music here once again, minus the flaming lip section that was a little too on the nose. I think the No Sleep Till Brooklyn sequence is just fucking awesome here. That sequence when it pops up, the music is great, visuals are great, the action is great. The only thing that could have made that scene better is if it was rated R, so they really could have gone all out with it. Speaking of rated R, props to Guardians Volume 3 for having the MCU's first F-bomb. It was truly a monumental moment when it happened, where I was like, wow, and the whole audience was like, wow, they finally did it in an MCU movie. It's really hilarious when it happens here because of how unexpected it is, yet how hilarious it is. It really had the whole audience going. So off of a first and so far only viewing, I admittedly didn't love this film all the way through. There were some moments, especially in the middle, but the storytelling was just too what the hell is going on here, and just the story in general. And that is a large or decent part of the movie. But there is still the positives that kept me going, like James Gunn's humor, Rocket's backstory, and of course the characters. That's what made Guardians great, primarily, when it comes to dealing directly with our characters. You know, we've loved these characters so much since their first appearance, the additions they've made to the Guardians of the Galaxy, the humor, the vibes, just the family dynamic, truly has been great, and Guardians Volume 3 delivers on that also. So, despite the mixed bag, admittedly, that there was for me, I'm still going to end up giving a 7.5 out of 10 for Guardians Volume 3. Now, this has been billed as the final Guardians film, and it does live up to those expectations, though not quite in the way I was expecting. It was a little unexpected what the exact final outcome was here. What's great about this, though, is that it does feel like the story has reached its sort of natural conclusion, and I like that, because too much endless storytelling in a franchise can really make you lose true sense of meaning and purpose for the characters. When you get to a point when you reach a natural conclusion, that can make things all the more sweeter. So for that, it has been a fun ride with the Guardians of the Galaxy. They've had 3 full films, a few short/specials, their involvement in the Avengers films, and some awesome rides at Disney parks. Speaking of those specials, for those who haven't seen the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special that came out last year, which 1, it was really good, but 2, you should see it before seeing this film, because it does fill in the gaps between their appearance in Thor: Love and Thunder and this film, as well as, mainly some certain story revelations between characters that will definitely catch you off guard if you have not seen the holiday special. So that's a wrap on this review of Guardians Volume 3. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.